Hello, and welcome to the Smile Revolution Show. I'm Princess Wow, also known as Mindy Fradkin or Wow, whatever you want to call me is fine. Mindy. We raise awareness to the healing power of a genuine smile. Sincere smiles only apply. And I started doing this show. I started this project in 2005, if you've never seen my show before. But this online show started March 2020. And I've done many different types of shows, but I used to have a radio show promoting the Smile Revolution. I used to interview musicians and well-known musicians and artists and authors doing uplifting things. So back to doing interviews, and I really love it. It's really fun. Now, tonight, before I introduce you to Paul Zollo, I wrote a song last year with Roland Musa, who's my husband, and he befriended Pete Seeger back in the late 70s in the village, Greenwich Village, and he was a draft dodger. And Roland, the New York Times heard Roland's music and compared him to Woody Guthrie. And Pete said he's one of the greatest unknown musicians in the world. And they were close for decades. And I ended up being close with Pete as well. And Paul actually was close, and his father were close with Pete as well. So it's kind of interesting. And so we wrote the song, and because of the war in Ukraine, it's called We Are All One. I really feel led to get the song out there because it's very unifying and joyful. So I'm going to play it and then say a few words about smiling. I have a smile quote here, and then I'll bring on Paul and I'll tell you about him after this. Okay, so here we go.
the stars and the moon in the sky. We are all one. We need to smile and not cry. Let's come together. God created you and me. Let's come together and pray for eternity. We are one, living under the same sun. Everyone, we are all one. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, technical issue for a second. Hi. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. And somebody wants to say hello. Miss Wow here, based on a photo of me, one of my wigs, my pink wigs. This is my real hair. Everybody thinks I'm wearing a wig. I have many looks. So anyway, I want to read you a smile, an anonymous smile poem. A smile costs nothing, but gives much. It enriches those who receive without making poor those who give. It takes but a moment, but the memory of it sometimes lasts forever. None is so rich or mighty that he can get along without it, and none is so poor but that he can be made rich by it. A smile creates happiness in the home, fosters goodwill in business, and is the countersign of friendship. It brings rest to the weary, cheer to the discouraged, sunshine to the sad, and it is nature's best antidote for trouble. Yet it cannot be bought, begged, borrowed, or stolen, for it is something that is of no value to anyone until it's given away. Some people are too tired to give you a smile. Give them one of yours, as none needs a smile so much as he who has no more to give. So let's see, and I have one more thing. Let's see. When Action Follows Heart, 365 Ways to Share Kindness by Susan Spencer, editor-in-chief at Women's Day. Dogs and cats need kindness too. Take your family to visit a local animal shelter. Even if you can't take a pet home, you can play with them for an hour. Well, it's better if you can take one or two home. So I always have a cat. Anyway, let's see. Roland, the song was written in mind for children to sing. Okay, let me just show what he wrote. Okay. To adults to stop the wars. We are all one living in the same sun. Okay. Thanks, Roland. Okay, so now let's see here. Paul Zollo, I met recently through our mutual friend, Stevie Kalinich, and who's an amazing artist, lyricist, and a poet and painter. He wrote for the Beach Boys back in the late 60s and many people. And even Paul, they've written a song. I don't know how many, but they've written together as well. So Paul Zollo is a songwriter, singer, recording artist, author of many books, photographer, and music journalist. I don't know if he ever sleeps. He was senior editor of American Songwriter magazine for 17 years, and he's written Songwriters and Songwriting, More Songwriters and Songwriting, Conversations with Tom Petty, Expanded Edition, and Hollywood Remembered. I got to find out what that's about. And he's written songs with many songwriters and artists, including Darryl Purpose, Steve Allen, Stevie Kalinich, Dan Byrne, Bob Malone, Severin Browne. And he's written for Variety, Billboard, Rolling Stone. It goes on and on and on. So okay, and he's a great photographer. He does a lot of things. And so here he is.
Hi, Mindy. Oh,
Hi.
there I am. Hi, Mindy. Nice to see you.
Nice to
Wow.
see you too. Thank you. Anyway, thank you so much for coming tonight
Oh, it's
on
my
my
pleasure.
show. And so let's see.
Nice hat.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I make hats if you've never seen my show before. It's one of the things I do. Okay, so you want to start with we talked about The Smile by Charlie Chaplin, of course.
Hmm.
And you want to give a little bit of a history before you play?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
I'm so glad you love the song. And of course, it ties in with your Smile Revolution perfectly.
Uh-huh.
You know, Michael Jackson always said that was his favorite song, too. And there's so many people recorded. Judy Garland did a beautiful version. And people always say this is the song Charlie Chaplin wrote. And he did, but not directly. Charlie Chaplin wrote music, composed his own scores for his movies. And the song Smile, that melody was from his score for the movie Modern Times, starring him and Paulette Goddard. That's my favorite Chaplin film. And the way Chaplin would do his scores, because he wasn't a trained musician, he would work with a musical secretary, as he would call it. In other words, someone who would write it down. Quite like I understand Danny Elfman writes his scores. You hum it to, and Steve Bartek does it for Danny Elfman. Chaplin was always having a new one because he'd get upset and fire the person off. And, he was a brilliant genius and he could do so many things, but not an easy man to deal with. But I got to interview when I was doing, you mentioned Hollywood Remembered, my book. Here it is. And this was kind of like my book, Songwriters on Songwriting, but questions about Hollywood. I mean, the actual talent, what happened to Hollywood? And so I talked to all kinds of people, but I talked to David Raxon, who became a very famous film scorer and wrote the song Laura. But one of his first jobs was as a musical secretary for Chaplin. And it was for Modern Times. And according to Raxon, some of those lines are his. They start da 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 da. Raxon told me that he came up with, let's go down da 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 da. That's not verified, but I could tell he was telling me the truth. But that was just a melody that was in the score. And then years later, two songwriters, Parsons and Turner, loved that melody, and they took it and turned it into a song and wrote the music. Wrote the words for it. And so it is from a melody that Chaplin wrote. Maybe he wrote with David Raxon, and then these two adapted it. And so it becomes the song that Charlie Chaplin wrote, but a beautiful song, one of my favorites for years. When I was growing up, my mom loved nothing better than when I play songs, that she knew. She just loved that. So I learned a lot. And actually, it was really good for my as a songwriter, because you learn all those adult chords when you're playing standards. So I have to tune this string back.
I'm learning guitar. I'm just a beginner.
Yeah. I've been learning since the year we stepped on the moon, 1969. But I'm getting pretty good.
Oh, good.
That's been a long time. It's more than 50 years. But I just love playing guitar. I love playing piano too. So and this song too, I've been playing since I was in my teens. I used to do these parties and play clubs where I do a lot of standards. And
I'm going to let you. I'm going to go off while you do this.
Okay. Wow.
Bye. Wow. See you a little bit.
So this is Smile by Charlie Chaplin, maybe with Raxon, Parsons, and Turner. In fact, if you look at AmericanSongwriter.com and look for the story behind the song of this song, Smile, you'll find my story on it. Even though I'm not still working there, my stories will be there forever, I think. So here's Smile. Should get the right lyrics. Here it goes. An F major for you music guys out there. It's for all my friends, and with special love to Stevie Kalinich, the man who loves spinach. Smile though your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. You smile through your pain and sorrow. Smile and maybe tomorrow you'll find that life is still worthwhile. If you just light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use in crying? You'll see that life is still worthwhile. If you just smile, smile, smile. That's it, ending on the sixth, like the Beatles like to do.
Thank you. That was great.
Thank you. That was a request because Mindy loves that
Yes.
song. So I don't get to play that one very often. It's quite
Oh,
a lovely
good.
song.
Oh, great. Good. Okay. So you're also a photographer and you photograph. So you, a lot of times, I mean, you write articles, interviews, and you do the photos too, right?
Well, for years I was not doing the photos because my good friend Henry Diltz, who's the greatest photographer in the world, especially of music people,
Right.
and a genius at getting musicians to relax, you know, and so that he can get beautiful photos. And the secret to that is he was friends with them all. They'll love Henry, so they're looking at someone they
Right.
love. That helps.
Right.
But I couldn't do it all. You know, it was back in the day when I was starting. I had cassette tapes, and I always had two, and I had my interview notes. But Henry would come, and he was like having Stevie there because everyone knows Henry, like Stevie, and they light up when they see him.
Right.
So that helped. But watching how he dealt with people taught me. And so when digital came in, good digital cameras around 2006. I mean, I was always taking photos, but I really got into it. And then I used Henry's technique of really engaging the subject with everyone that I meet around LA. And I love photography. It's just a joy. So I've added that to stuff I do.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, my background's photography too. I started in high school. I was in the darkroom all the time taking pictures of people. I love taking pictures too. And
it's magical. So we take it for granted, but it's really miraculous, isn't it? Especially now that you can see it immediately, and they're, you know, it's even with a good camera, you know, it's digital. It's great. I love it. I always used to have a hard time with the wait, you know, when you get developed. You know, musicians are used to immediate response, you know, and like you take the photos, it could be days before you see them. So I love that you can instantly do it, and that you could do the darkroom stuff on the computer pretty well now with Photoshop. Do you do that as well?
No, I don't. I mean, I was more heavily into it when I was doing the darkroom and the film, and it's like I don't know, I haven't really learned the digital as well. I mean, I do it on like my iPhone and stuff, but like the camera, I'm still learning a DSL.
But doing Photoshop is actually much easier than actually doing it in the darkroom. I mean, much easier.
Okay, well, one day maybe I'll get back.
It maybe not as great. Some people say they can tell the difference, but it's fun. I enjoy it.
All right, well, maybe because I do love photography.
You better get to it because you're not doing enough things. I think you better do that.
I know one more thing to do. Well, I went to Art Center College of Design in Pasadena back in the day.
And they taught you all kinds of art is good.
But it was too commercial for me. I'm really more like photojournalism, and I liked fashion photography. But anyway, it was a little bit too commercial for me.
Well, I love taking pictures of people like Stevie. I've taken probably 1,000 photos of Stevie because he's so fashionable and there's so much joy.
I know.
So it's great to have photos of friends as well as everyone.
Yeah, that's great. So so you're also are you writing a book now, or right now? What are you really focusing on mostly? I know you have that your Blue Railroad magazine.
Right, that's been kind of a magazine I kept because often writing for magazines, I mean regular magazines, I would do interviews. And they'd only use a small portion, and I do long interviews, so I could put the whole thing there. And also in my books on Songwriters, on Songwriting, and I did a whole book with Tom Petty, conversations with Tom Petty, where they are in books. But the new thing coming out, I'm working with the Songwriting School of LA, where I've already, we started a series called Songwriters on Songwriting Live, and the great Rob Seals there built a temple to songwriters, which I love. and a beautiful studio for us to do the show and other things. And we've already done several shows, including one with Mike Love, which was greatly helped because Stevie was there, and Mike loves Stevie.
Oh, good.
So we're doing that, but also we're going to do it's going to be a podcast web series, and also my archives, because I have tapes going back 40 years of all these interviews. A lot of people, aren't around. So I'm doing everything with the songwriting school, and I am working on books. I'm finishing a book with Henry Diltz. We've been working on his biography for a long time.
Oh, cool.
And I have a novel about Hollywood. I'm hoping comes out soon.
Oh, good. Oh, well, Henry Diltz, I'm reading actually because I was friends with Michael Lang, who produced Woodstock.
Yes.
And it says Henry Diltz was one of the photographers.
He was, yeah. And,
one of them.
Did we lose Michael recently? Was Michael? Is Michael Lang still with us?
He just passed on.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But Elliot Landy, we're friends with Elliot Landy. I mean, he lives in he was another one of the.
Elliot Landy, great photos of Dylan. He took the best photos of Dylan. We used him he's a great photographer.
So you know Elliot.
I do.
Yeah.
But Henry is so funny because, they invited him to Woodstock, but for weeks it was just the pretty girls and hippies building it. He said, I forgot there was even going to be music. He was having so much fun. Uh-huh. And then, of course, it's huge. They had no idea how many people were there. It was enormous.
Right. Oh, so that's cool. Yeah.
But he's gone on from there taking photos of. He was in the Modern Folk Quartet, so he was a fellow musician, and people would take my picture. So it led to that. He kind of like me. He didn't intend to be what he is, but he's the best at it, and he's done it. He's 82 now, so he's done it for a while.
So you're writing his memoirs?
I am. Yeah, we've been working on them for quite a few years, and I think I better get going because I've been working on the magazine and other projects, and I want to get this book finished with Henry. And yes, we've been working on it for a long time.
Oh, yeah. That's cool. So let's show some of your photos that you sent me.
Okay.
Okay, wait a second. Let me go find them.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oops.
Look. Okay, I'm going to take you off for a second.
What? No, that's okay.
Yeah, let me just
take
show
me off.
Photos really quick.
Hi, everyone.
Both off. Okay. All right, wait a minute. How am I doing this? Wait a second. All right, I'm showing the pictures, but I can't have us on. So
I saw 3 of them.
Okay, so we got 3.
And I didn't take that Stevie picture. Did you take the picture?
That was
Stevie?
Jill Jarrett took the picture.
Oh, Jill Jarrett.
Was Jill Jarrett took of Stevie Kalinich because we're talking about him. That's how we met. So I wanted to show a picture of him.
Yeah, for Jill Jarrett. She's a wonderful photographer.
She's a great photographer. Okay, so the first picture was Leonard Cohen for most people know who that is.
That was one I took.
Huh?
That was a photo I took.
Right. And then we had, and then Tom Petty and you.
That was one Henry took of us. Henry, I was writing about it. Henry was there to take his picture, and he's just nice. He goes, Paul, get in one, and I'm so happy he did because I have that.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a cool picture. And then you have a picture you took of Tom Petty, right?
Yeah, that was at his last show ever.
Oh, you talk about that.
It's sad, of course,
it
was his last show ever. But I was there, I know Tom, and they were letting me take photos. But most of the photographers came the first night. It was at the Hollywood Bowl, and he did 3 nights. And so I was in the orchestra pit of the Hollywood Bowl, and he saw me. So he came over while Mike Campbell was doing one of his great solos and just beamed at me. But I was so startled that he gave me the shot. I didn't focus, the very first one. But being Tom, he was a sweet and sensitive guy, probably noticed or felt that. And he came like 4 more times and gave me the shot. So that shot is in the expanded edition of my book, Conversations with Tom Petty.
Oh, wait, also, you have 2 books with him?
Well, the first book that we did together, the original is called Conversations with Tom Petty. It came out in 2005.
Okay.
But when he died in 2016, it went out of print very quickly. So people were selling it for like a lot of money on eBay, like $600.
Wow.
I wish I could have done that. But thanks to Dana, because Dana, his beautiful wife, who's still with us, thank God. She, we shared the copyright, Tom and I, and she approved that, that I could do a new version of the book. and I'm glad. And also, she did a little interview for the front of the book.
Good.
She was such a wonderful person. Made Tom really
Okay.
happy in the end of his life. So
Okay, good. All right, I have a question though. So where can you find your books?
well, there's this thing called Amazon.com. That's
I
one
know, I
place.
figured
No, I
Amazon.
know.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the easiest place. But you can email me, Zollo at bluerailroad.com, if you want a signed one, and I will write you back and do that. I really have to set up where it's really simple to do that, but I haven't done that yet. But time to get to that. Because it's nice if people want. A few people during the lockdown would send me books to sign, and yeah, I should make it easier. They don't have to send me their books, but I will soon.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. Oh, that's good to know. Oh, so, okay. All of them. All right, great. Okay. And then, no, so you were talking about the songwriting school. I was on YouTube the other night, and it's all of a sudden I'm seeing you are interviewing Terry Roach, who we both know. And then I reached out to her and told her I was interviewing you. She was so happy. Couldn't be on tonight live, but she's going to watch us after.
Well, I love Terry Roach. I'm so glad you know her too. I mean, she was of the Roaches, the Maggie, Terry, and Suzy Roach, but such a wonderful musician, just a great guitarist and wonderful person. And when she was in LA, she did that show, and it's interesting how it pops up. But I'm glad it's there.
It popped up. I think it was meant to be before our interview that it popped up.
I'm surprised you know her personally, but she's a real wonderful person. Have you heard her song "Christ-like"? Have you ever heard that one? It was on, I think, one of the last.
I heard it on the interview. She played it on the interview.
Amazing. God, it's a remarkable song, but she's really something.
Yeah, well, I met her from Roland and Richard Barone. Because they know each other. Well, Roland knows her from the Village from the 70s. And they stayed friends. And then Richard, I don't know when they met, but they're very good friends and they work a lot together.
Well, that was fun getting Terry here. And, usually I just get people that live in LA. I'm so great we were able to do that.
Oh, great. Okay, good. All right. Now the next thing is that we can watch the video of the song Maggie that you said Terry Roach is singing on, right?
That's right. Being a savvy songwriter, if you want to get a great singer to sing with you, you have a good entrance. And I just happened to write a song about Maggie. I was using the name Maggie, not about her sister, but Terry loved Maggie. They started as a duo, as you know well, just Maggie and Terry. And
right.
And Maggie's no longer with us. And I thought a song about Maggie. And I wasn't there. She recorded the vocals in New York, and she did a real hypnotic. I mean, I let her be creative, so she kind of repeated the name Maggie a lot, and it was really beautiful. I'm so excited to have my song with Terry Roach. Okay,
Neil Rosengarten said, wait, he's watching. He said, do I need to wear a hat in order to watch?
Yes, you do. And you should have pants on too, if possible. I'm not insisting, but Neil Rosengarten happens to be a musical genius. So I'm pretty glad he's right. He truly is. I was just writing about him, and he has perfect pitch, which some people think they have, but he truly has perfect pitch. And when you really have it, it's not so fun, because if anything's out of tune just a little bit, it's annoying. It's like painful. But he's a remarkable musician.
Okay, great.
He should play with Terry Roach. I think they would work well.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to take us both off, and I'll play your song Maggie.
Maggie.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
I remember walking with you slow down where the river used to flow, parallel with Martha Street below, the ragged edges of our town. And I remember sleeping in your bed, Pocahontas poster overhead, back before our love was left for dead, and all the stars were upside down. And here we go again, far, far away from the world of men, out of the little league, into the lion's den. Do you remember when the river boats all sang Maggie, 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 I knew you then. Men made out of snow, singing songs our grandfathers would know. And you with your acoustic radio on pathways strewn with cookie crumbs. I remember laughing in our books, following our trivial pursuits. Just a couple cowboys in cahoots through thunderstorms, kettle drums. And here we go again, far, far away from the world of men, out of the little league, into the lion's den. Do you remember when the river boats all sang Maggie, 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 I knew you then. Maggie, I knew you then. Remember you in lilac sleeves, parachuting through our den of thieves. Martha Street, a mess of fallen leaves, photographs in disarray. And I remember sleeping in your car, driving back to Boston seemed too far, and California was a distant star, 1,000 galaxies away. And here we go again, far, far away from the world of men, out of the little league, into the lion's den. Do you remember when the river boats all sang Maggie, Maggie, they sang Maggie, 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 I knew you then. Maggie, I know you there. Maggie, I know you. I know you. Maggie, I know you there.
Wow. That was amazing.
Sad song. Made me sad. But Terry, boy, having Terry Roach is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song.
Did you ever hear on the Exposure album with Robert Fripp?
What?
Have you ever heard the song Exposure by Robert Fripp that Terry Roach sings on? she actually wails on it. She screams on it. Frankly, it's amazing.
I heard the interview. I haven't. No, no, I hadn't heard of it until the interview with her.
It's not what you expect from Terry. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh wait, Neil said something else here. He's all shucks. Thank you. I guess he's got to go get his hat.
Neil.
I guess that's what he means. Okay, so all right, but I have a question. Okay, so your father was a journalist, and it's an interesting story about your father that he worked with Hugh Hefner.
Oh, you saw that.
Before Playboy.
That's right. Both my dad and Hugh were working for Esquire magazine, which was in Chicago. And when Esquire decided to move to New York, they both would have loved to go, but they're Jewish kids. You don't leave your parents, and their parents were in Chicago, so they didn't leave. So the first idea Hefner had, let's do a magazine about Chicago. It was going to be called like Chi-Town, and but they couldn't get enough money, investors. So then Hefner came up with the idea of Playboy, like a great magazine with the best writing and naked photos. My dad said, that's a ridiculously terrible idea. How would that ever work? He thought that was not only a bad idea, he didn't want to have his name on it, but either did Hefner. They were both married at the time, so both of them used pen names. But my dad wrote several articles, and he wrote for the very first one that had Marilyn Monroe on the cover. And my dad was the first person to write about what the Playboy male was, how he defined it. And I asked him about this years later because I didn't know what he wrote. He didn't have Playboys around the house. They were not to be had, especially back then. It was very racy, in the 60s when I was growing up.
Right.
But then I found out because Mother Jones wrote this story, and I asked my dad, did you write that? And he goes, if I did, it was because after, I was writing on assignment. For the very first issue, he wrote a story about how not to allow women to trick you into marriage, gold diggers. It's an ironic thing for my dad. He was very happily married for 60 years, but Hefner had no money at the time, so he paid him. My dad was willing to take his payment in stock, even though it was worthless then, to help Hefner out. I don't think he thought it was a good idea to make money. But years later in the 70s, he made a lot of money overnight when it went public. And so suddenly he could quit. He was a public relations man, and he became a full-time novelist at that point.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just a fluke, but that he did so well because of Playboy, but he never liked Playboy, and he was kind of embarrassed. And
but he didn't use his real name.
Not at first, but since then, they've done many anniversary issues, and they've said who he was. Okay. But originally, he used the name Bob Norman.
Okay.
But even Hefner used a fake name in the very first issue.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
And he was married at the time too. Hefner ultimately got divorced, but my dad never did.
Okay.
And frankly, it was a good idea. I used to think, we used to joke, Dad, we could be in the grotto right now. What were you thinking? But my dad was not a playboy, and
right.
He was happy in the suburbs with his wife and his kids. That's, he was very happy, and it worked out well.
That's great. And that's good. So, is that why you so I guess you were inspired by your dad to become a journalist.
No, I was inspired by my dad to be a good writer, but being a songwriter was all I ever wanted since I was 10 and 11. But my dad was my critic, and he was a tough critic. His main word that he would always use was trite. Like, that's not bad, but which means it's been done before.
Right.
I don't know what's been done before. I was only 10 years old, but that was a very high standard.
Okay.
But years later, I wrote a song about Edgar Allan Poe called Baltimore with Darryl Purpose, and my dad's only comment was, "Wow." Probably talking about you, but that was the best critique I've ever had. It was the best.
Well, I'm from Baltimore. Ever. Did you know I'm from Baltimore?
I didn't, but there you go, as a psychic connection. Well, you might know that he died, Edgar Allan Poe, mysteriously in Baltimore.
No, I don't know if I knew that.
But he was wandering around New York, but he died in someone else's clothes in Baltimore. When I heard that, I thought,
so that's a song.
Obvious song type.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But Darryl Purpose wrote beautiful music for it, and we both recorded that song.
Oh, wow. I'll have to hear it.
Yeah, I think you might like it.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Okay, so what's the next song that you want to write? Oh, did you want to do a song that you wrote with Stevie?
I'm going to do a different song.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, whatever you want to write.
Because I don't have the Stevie song really perfect yet.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right.
I'm starting to record those very soon.
Okay.
But I've written a few with Stevie, and they're beautiful. But I was going to play this one. It's just fairly new too.
Okay, I'm gonna go off. Okay. While you're
Okay. I'm glad she's gone finally. No, I'm joking. It's very fun to be here on the Wow Show. Let me get this in the right tuning. This one is called Kathleen. And it's one of the few songs I've worked on for a long time because the music just wasn't right, for the chorus especially. And it's in an open tuning. And it's the only song I wrote based on something Tom Waits said about his wife. His wife, Kathleen, it's really changed his life. And sorry. He said, I said, what's Kathleen like? He said, Kathleen is a rhododendron. She's an orchid. She's an oak. And of course, I thought that's a song. But I mean, that's a good songwriting puzzle because you had to follow it and make it work. And rhododendron just came up. Orchid lights. It's pretty scary sometimes, the computer, what it does. So this is called Kathleen. Kathleen's a rhododendron. She's an orchid. She's an oak. She'll always help me to pick the pieces out and sweep away what's broke. She's my four-leaf clover. She's my lucky charm. Whenever we canoe, she'll get us through the rapids with no harm. It's just the kind of girl that she is. She's got a whole lot of love to give. And if she wasn't the love of my life, I'd have no life to live. I got no sense of direction. I can get lost in a cul-de-sac, just going around and around and never being found. But she can always bring me back. She's my spiritual mechanic. She is my mystic chimney sweep. She'll always answer me with harmony if I start singing in my sleep. It's just the kind of girl that she is. She's got a whole lot of love to give. And if she was the love of my life, I would have no life to live. Kathleen is a jacaranda. She is a blue magnolia leaf. She is an amateur conquistador, a siren and a thief. She is my yellow sparrow. She's my magpie. She is my dove. She's the giddy girl on the tilt-a-whirl who fills my world with love. It's just the kind of girl that she is. She's got a whole lot of love to give. And if she wasn't the love of my life, I would have no life to live. I would have no life to live. No life.
That was great.
Thank you, Mindy.
So much. This is really a treat. I'm curious, are you working on an album now, or what do you?
I am. I'm happy. I'm working on a few. I'm doing
Okay.
a duo thing with Barry Keenan. We recorded our own version of Help, Beatles' Help, but a slower one. But I'm working with him and recording at some other places too, because I've been writing so many songs, but I haven't recorded in a few years. So I'm really eager to start playing again. And I'm working with great musicians, and I got 3 songs with Stevie that I'm planning to record very soon.
Oh, great.
You know, until they record it, it's like, come on already, you wrote a song, record it. So I got to get those
Right.
done.
So do you work with like one recording studio in LA, or do you work with different ones?
Well, I did the albums in the past at one. I used to work at Boulevard Sound, which is right on Hollywood Boulevard. But I realized several of my friends have great studios, including Barry Keenan and my friend Sal Guitarras. He and his son have a studio. And so I realized I could be working at more than one studio at a time, you know, and get more done that way. And finally, I got more time, you know, where I can do it. And so I'm really eager to record.
So during the pandemic, so were you writing a lot of songs?
I was not writing. I was writing some songs,
Okay.
but I was working incredibly full time for American Songwriter, because especially with lockdown, people were reading, like our readership went through the roof, and a different guy bought it, and he fired pretty much everybody but me. But they wanted me to just keep churning them out, and I did it like around the clock for about 2 years. But it was hard, you know. Everyone from Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas through, you know, J.D. Souther and Art Garfunkel, you know, and America. You know, most everyone was home too. So
Was that the last 2 years? You mean? Yeah.
yeah.
You were
So
doing
if you
all-
go on AmericanSongwriter.com, there's like 1,000 stories there that I wrote. That's quite a few.
Wow. That's amazing.
John Prine, you know, some great people we did who we lost during the lockdown.
Yeah.
Sadly, you know, nothing is bigger for someone who's in the career in the music business than death. You know, suddenly he's won so many awards, and his people know him so much better. You know, John Prine. I mean, it's,
Right. Since he passed on, I know.
right. You know, that's always the thing that really does it.
Right. So that's great. So you're doing that. So your days, or how do you structure your days? Like part of your day is like you're working on your songs, and the other part you're writing, interview. I mean, how do you?
I just call Stevie and ask him, what should I do? No, I don't
Yeah,
structure.
seriously.
Luckily, because I was working under the gun for so many years, I mean, I don't have to structure it so much. But working on the songs is just my passion. It's what I've always done when I'm supposed to be doing other stuff. Since I was a kid, I was supposed to like study algebra. So maybe I'll work on another song, and I still kind of do it in that same way. Like I'm not supposed to be doing this, but I always have my guitar here and a mic, and friends come over. So I've been making demos of a lot of the songs. I write on piano, which is downstairs.
Okay.
So making music is just a joy.
Oh, that's great. And wait,
I love
Rowan
it.
wants to say something. Wait, Rowan has something to say here.
That's your husband?
Yeah, my husband. Yeah.
I like that one.
Okay. He's saying, I was fortunate to meet Bob. He's talking about Dylan. In one of our conversations, I mentioned a book about interviews with the 10 greatest songwriters. Bob knew the book and said that was the book he learned most about songwriting. Do you know the book?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't either. I don't know the title.
The Bible of songwriting, as they call it, is my book that Bob is in, Songwriters on Songwriting, but it's got more than 10. I think it does have 10 great ones, but I'm not sure which ones. But I'm not sure.
This book, this is from the 70s.
I mean, Bill Flanagan did a book before mine called Written in Their Souls, which had great interviews, but I'm not sure about that book. I wonder who the 10 are. Can Roland tell us?
I know. Yeah. And
I bet he knows, but I love that he knew Pete Seeger. Pete Seeger's the first interview in my book, and he should be.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, in Songwriters on Songwriting, I put it first because I think
Okay.
it starts there. And then I did the sequel, and I had worked for Marjorie Guthrie, Woody Guthrie's wife, right out of college. So my interview with her about Woody is the first interview in the new one.
Oh,
So I got
cool.
Woody and Pete at the beginning of both books, you know.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, you know, that's where it starts for so many of us.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
And I interviewed Arlo during lockdown, and you know that the tradition goes on. He told me some Pete stories that were great that I never even knew.
Mm-hmm.
I-
Oh, great. Yeah. Well,
I love that you knew Pete.
Yeah, Rowan's close with Arlo too. They've known each other forever too.
Is that right? Oh, that's
Oh
great.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
love Arlo. He's so great. What a special
Okay.
guy. But
Hey,
Roland,
Rowan's saying
serious.
something else. Wait a minute. What did he say? Richard? Wait a second. I gotta get my glass on.
Yeah, me too.
He said Richard Fusco Hart Hammerstein,
Oh,
1968. He's saying that's the book. Do you know that songwriting book?
no,
1968.
Hammerstein, not Oscar Hammerstein, though.
No,
Yeah,
Richard Fusco. I
I
don't
got
know.
it. Oscar Hammerstein wrote a good songwriting book, but
Okay.
I'm not sure.
That's what he. That's
I
what
like
he's
the word "wasbeen" though. Did you invent that?
I invented it.
So what do you say for a past wife? You can't say "was wife." I mean, that's not as good.
I
Huh?
know. I know. Well, I don't know. It
You
just
say
came
ex,
to a
right?
thought one day, huh?
You say ex or something worse, actually.
Well, it's just it because we're still good friends. It's not like it sounds friendly. It's not like you're just my. I don't like X.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Wasbeen's great. I think that's funny.
husband's like a friendly. We're still like like we're brother and sister.
I met a woman who was telling me that she has 3 ex-fiancés. I've never heard anyone say ex-fiancé.
Yeah. Oh, that's no.
And
I
be,
have.
and be proud of it too.
Oh, that's funny.
So I never got married, but I have 3 ex-fiancés.
God, oh, that's funny. Okay, so let's see. Do you want to do one more song?
If you'd like me to, or we could do.
You have a song?
I think I might have another one.
Oh, if you don't, it's like we don't have to.
I well, you know, since you mentioned, I could do a Stevie song. It might not be perfect,
Okay.
and I don't want him to get upset. No, but I'll fake it, even if
Okay.
even if I make a mistake, I won't let on.
All right. So this is he wrote this with Stevie Kalinich. He sang. Okay.
Yes, so Stevie Kalinich wrote the lyrics.
And
He
that's
also
how
wrote
I
the song
met you.
"Little Bird." I'm sorry, Mindy.
That's how I met you.
You're right. We met through Stevie. Stevie's one of those people that connects people, and I think that's what we should do. You know, connect people. But I met Stevie because of P.F. Sloan. He connected us, and I'm so glad he did.
I know. I read that. Yeah, that's really cool. That's so you've known Stevie a long time.
Yeah, but we really met at Phil's P.F. Sloan's funeral. I'd met him a few times with P.F. Sloan before that, but I didn't know him well.
Okay.
But at the funeral, we both spoke, and his poem was so beautiful. And
Oh,
he's
P.F. Sloan's?
no, Stevie read his poem. If I think it's called "If You Knew."
Yeah, I
And it
know
was
that
just
poem.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just so beautiful, and
Yeah.
and that he was a friend of Phil P.F. Sloan. I felt, you know, we just became close friends ever since then. I
Oh,
love
that's
Stevie.
really neat. Oh, that's great. Okay, here I'm gonna go
Okay,
off and then we'll wrap it up.
so this is called "Sorrow Never Leaves Us Where It Finds Us." Lyrics by Stevie Kalinich. I had the fun of performing this song at a great show, a tribute to Stevie at the Ruskin Theater in Santa Monica, produced by Library Girl, one of Stevie's many admirers. I'm sorry, I find you have to tune each string or it just doesn't sound good. I'm sorry. Let me get that right with the capo here. Let's not delay, it's in the way. Tomorrow still believes that it will remind us. The birds still fly up in the sky. Sorrow never leaves us where it finds us. No sorrow never leaves us where it finds us. Moving days across my days. Everything is wonder and we stand ablaze. Never ever knowing what the day might bring. And I get so happy sometimes I sing. So don't delay, celebrate the day. Take on the world for all its madness. We'll learn to fly in the sky.
I don't know what happened. I lost him. Maybe he'll be back on in a minute. Maybe he lost electricity. I don't know. Let's just see if he'll be back on in a minute. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the interview and our first song, We're on One, and all his gorgeous music, and his life is amazing. And everything he does is just incredible. And so anyway, I don't know what happened. I think he maybe lost electricity or something. Anyway, I guess I'm going to wrap it up. And thank you all for listening. And, it was a great interview. And I wish you all well and have a good weekend and lots of love. And I'll be in touch for my next interview. I'll let you all know soon, my next show. Okay. Keep smiling, keep sweet. Join the Smile Revolution.